will go to, let me get my papers here, item 11, I think we'll go to. It's the Auckland Plan New Environmental Cultural Heritage Outcome Measures. Can we call up Simon Randall, our lead strategic advisor for this body of work? Now, this is not a relitigation of the Auckland Plan 2050. This is looking at some work that we needed to follow up on, and that's establishing these outcome measures. So this matter is on page 119, members, and the purpose is to approve the environment and cultural heritage outcomes. Now, I will move accordingly. Do I have a second, please? Councillor Henderson. And Simon, would you introduce, please?
Kia ora huihu mai tātou, tēnā koe te himana. Through you, Mr. Chair. As you described, again, this is not a relitigation of the Auckland Plan.
Well, I need to give you absolute attention of everyone. Members, there's...
Are we not doing item 10 or have we done it?
No, we're starting on 11.
Okay, thank you.
Members, there's a bit of chatter in the room. And we can't hear the presenter. Simon, back to you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. As you said, that's absolutely right. This isn't about a relook at the Auckland Plan. It's finishing some work that was begun at the adoption in 2018 of the Auckland Plan 2050. So the Auckland Plan consists of 6 outcomes and the development strategy. And the monitoring framework consists of 33 measures that sits alongside that to track progress towards the strategic direction the plan sets. It also provides ongoing evidence for aligning the implementation and regulatory plans and functions of Auckland Council and other stakeholders. These outcome measures are reported on every year to you, and every 3 years prior to the long-term plan, we do what we colloquially call a deep dive, but look wider than the measures to do some more in-depth analysis to inform your decision making. In 2018, when the plan was adopted, it was identified that the measures for the environment and cultural heritage needed further development. That work's now being completed, and the proposed measures in front of you represent a minor shift from what was adopted as under development measures, but provide a comprehensive look, and these measures, if adopted today, will be reported on as part of the monitoring report in July. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And look, I was a little bit quick to move it. Councillor Hills, this really does affect all your work directly. Would you like to take the move on this one?
Yeah, I'm happy to move.
If we could swap out my name for Councillor Hills, please.
I don't mind.
And just look, something that I did raise with you at in a meeting we had just 48 hours or 24 hours ago or so, Simon, was I've just become aware of that Auckland legislation which requires us to, I forget the exact words, but I think it was section 80 of that legislation that requires us to keep government and government agencies abreast of any amendments. This is not an amendment, but it does form indirectly part of the overall Auckland Plan 2050. That legislation requires us to keep them engaged and abreast and ultimately supportive. So how have we in this process ensured that government agencies are up to pace with us and we're reflecting their views in the development of these measures?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we haven't directly engaged with central government because this is relatively minor departure from what was adopted as underdeveloped measures. Section 80 talks about the fact that the Auckland Plan is a plan for all of Auckland, and in its implementation and development we need to work alongside partners including government. These measures will help support us to do that because it's about understanding the progress and development of the plan, and having fit for purpose measures enables us to have that conversation as we do in a number of ways. So long-term plan development, RLTP, a number of other things references this material, and having measures in place that enable us to report on them will inform and support that conversation. So we haven't directly worked with them on the development of the measures, but the product of that will help inform our implementation and our work with key partners such as government.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cooper, over the question.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Simon. For me, so does this more strongly support our investment in pest control, weed control, and our kara dieback work, and supporting Te Kawerau and their rahui?
One of the useful things that's happened, thank you, Councillor Cooper, and through you, Mr. Chair. One of the helpful things that has happened since the adoption of the Auckland Plan is the development of the monitoring framework alongside NETA, and a number of the data that is going to be utilised as part of a number of these measures is informed by that work. So it will help us understand through that investment and wider the benefit of those initiatives, and at the as part of the 3-year deep dive that we do in advance of the RTP, we'll look wider and look at a number of the data sets and information that comes out of the work that you're talking about to help inform that advice, and obviously that will help support the decision making that you make in those fora.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. And Councillor Walker.
I haven't looked at all 33 measures, but one of the questions I would have is actually around not just stream quality, but some measurement around the amount of streams, because we're losing streams in Auckland. So one, are we reporting on that, measuring stream loss? And secondly, elite soils, are we reporting on the loss of elite soils? That can be quantified because that is happening actively. The other area that people in Auckland are very concerned about is the lack of mature tree canopy that is rapid across Auckland, and people physically observe it, and we have letters about it on almost a daily basis. Are we measuring that? So just a few questions there, and they go to the things that people are concerned about.
Thanks, Councillor.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councillor Walker, for your question. Obviously, with 33 measures to understand the implementation of the Auckland Plan, there's limitations in terms of everything that can be measured, and so what we've provided is advice on the criteria that are set out in the report. All of the things that you have talked about, so stream loss in particular, and there is through the implementation of national policy statements around water quality and other things, there's an increasing in terms of how we're monitoring. This set of measures isn't the be-all and end-all. They're indicators in terms of progress. The other things that you're talking about, soil quality, stream loss, those other indicators are what we take into account and report to you as part of the 3-year progress report. And so we look at that wider set, but the particular measures that you're talking about, Council does have a level of understanding and data. One of the other things that I should probably flag here is the state of the environment, which is Council's Section 35 RMA reporting, which reports every 5 years, gives us a wider picture. But a number of those indicators need to have measurement over many years. This set of measures is designed to be reportable on a yearly basis, and so some of the wider measures we take up as part of state of the environment type reporting.
For you, Mr. Chair, I think my concern and the concern of Aucklanders is the measures that I'm suggesting are of immediate concern to Aucklanders and need to be reported on more regularly. It's fine to say we're actively managing something, but if we're actively managing the demise of something, which is happening on a planetary level, then what use is the active management? It's the net figures that count.
Absolutely, thank you. Now I think I've got Member Tauhenare, please.
Good, old Chair. Just one question with regards to this measure. How does it address the national policy statement on fresh water?
Kia ora, through you, Mr. Chair. These measures don't directly meet that reporting requirement. That will be part of the delivery. However, the national policy statement for freshwater will require Council to expand its monitoring, and that increased data set will inform these measures and make them more robust and more useful for you. So these will benefit from that requirement, but this isn't the forum in which Council is going to meet those requirements. That's a different piece of work.
This will inform that stuff, or the other way around?
Other way round.
Thank you, Member Tau, and Councillor Kuhn, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Kia ora, Simon. I'm very happy to support this. It's just a clarification in terms of our decision making, and it's standing alone. It's asking us to approve the new measures and the sub-measures, but to find the sub-measures, you have to go to paragraph 22. So should the sub-measures, the table from paragraph 22, be included in the resolution so you can just read it, you know, in terms of the public looking for the decision? I would have thought we need to list exactly what we're approving, but I just seek officer clarification about that.
Director of Strategy.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Simon, I'll take this for a start. That's a good point. Thank you, Councillor Coombe. Just for ease of reading, it would be a particularly long recommendation or resolution if we included the whole table. What we could do, though, and in your hands, is after and their sub-measures, maybe just put bracket at paragraph 22 or something like that. Maybe at paragraph 22. So then it's clear.
Thank you, Director of Strategy, Hills. Thank you. We better stop there. It's April Fool's Day. Okay, look, there are 18 sub-measures, and I think it would be a little bit long, but we can tidy it up in that regard. Thank you. Councillor Hills, back to you.
Thank you, Chair. And no, I was just saying that, yeah, that's great. Thank you, Chair, and kia ora, Simon. Thank you. There's no more questions. I'm just speaking. Is that fine?
I've just got one question, if I take. So, just usual question, I guess I can channel Councillor Simpson here, is this is a lot more work, and it's overdue work. And some of these things we are measuring to an extent, but we're going to be, I anticipate we're going to be measuring it differently, like particulate. We're very limited in the catchments that we are measuring particulate in at the moment. Are we likely to be expanding the reach of the data collection beyond what we're doing currently in the areas that we are measuring?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. These measures rely on what Council's already measuring and what they already have data sets for. So the work in front of you is not proposing any expansion beyond BAU in those areas. Although, thankfully, there has been a lot of investment and movement in this space, so the things that we are monitoring and reporting has increased since these measures were initially looked at in 2018, and that's been part of the helpful support for this work. In terms of particulate matter, implementation of the National Environmental Standard for Air Quality will expand the monitoring we need to do for particulate matter 2.5, which is the finer grain particulate matter, and that's why we're proposing that change here. So no greater investment required, but capturing the best data that we're already going to do.
Okay, thank you. And just in terms of the submeasure of scheduled significant ecological areas, what is the difference between a significant ecological area and a scheduled one?
This has just been very clear that this is referencing the schedule of significant ecological areas in the unitary plan, as opposed to a more colloquial, someone describing something as a significant ecological area, whether or not it was scheduled.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hills, back to you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you again, Simon, for this work. I guess just my general comments that this helps kind of us with what we're already doing and being able to build on that work as well. And I think it also enshrines, I guess, this into the decision making. You know, we all know everyone around this table is very behind all of this, but the Auckland plan will actually make sure that's locked in as we go ahead and make sure we're reporting and focusing on these areas. And I think we can all say in the last, 10 years, especially the last 3 or 4 with the natural environment and water quality targeted rates and everything else we're doing, that we are really, really ramping up this work. And the State of the Environment report with the hundreds and hundreds of monitoring points around the city that our staff and contractors are out there probably now measuring different parts of our environment. This all plays into that, and to have a more regular reporting and sort of update for staff, but also for all of us, and being transparent about that means that we will be able to focus our investment, especially at times when we don't have all the money we would like to have, means that we focus in the right places. Because that State of the Environment report showed that we're improving slightly in the water quality space overall, but we know there are major issues in some areas. With the air quality, we were actually improving across Tamaki Makaurau, apart from the city centre. We're now doing work in that space through the 10-year budget to address that. And for the pests and native species and birds, we show where we've put investment, we're getting really, really good outcomes in those spaces around native birds, native plants and animals. So I think that this helps the rest of the business kind of all work together. So I think it's good to have all these additional ones, and I'm assuming in another 3 years we'll have a lot more things to be thinking about and adding in, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but it does continue that focus on especially water quality and our natural environment, but everything else that we must legally monitor, but also helping that reporting on means that we can make better decisions in the future. So thank you, Simon, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hills. Thank you, Simon. We'll put that to the vote. It's moved and seconded. And you can see the motions before us. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. To the contrary, no. And declare that carried. Members will adjourn, I think, until maybe 1:10, and there is an event happening at Council Chamber, the Historic Chamber at ground floor now. Thank you.